And there was a time maybe 3 years ago when I was sat there and I'm questioning myself almost. I'm like, you know, what is it that's made me become the person I am? Like, why have I been so successful? Is it luck? Have I just been lucky? I'm asking myself these questions. And then, you know, I'm thinking about my old friendship groups and where a lot of those are in terms of life and some of my new friendship groups. And after reflecting for several hours and sitting there and questioning myself, the one thing that was very clear that separated me from everyone that I'd met throughout life and had been part of my journey was my self-belief. Like, I've always believed that impossible is nothing. I can do it. As long as I've had that mindset about things, I've been able to accomplish it. And part of that same, you know, analysis of myself was going back to the imagery that I'd put up around in my studio and how I went about achieving those certain goals and targets that I'd set myself. And it was almost like I had achieved those things subconsciously for me. Like, I had set myself a target and they was all around my room. But I wouldn't sit there every day thinking, I want an orange Porsche. I want a massive detached house with land. I didn't sit there and think every day about those things, but they were around me and they were part of my environment. And in the same way, when I was younger, my environment had a huge influence on who I was and how I behaved. Once I stepped out of that and created my own environment, my own universe, if you like.
And I'll tell you how you can apply the law of attraction in a very easy and fun way to change your life completely in the next few years. There's a funny story with this phone, this specific phone. I believe it's like an iPhone 4, but that's not really the important part. The important thing is that this is the phone that I had when I was working in a grocery store a little bit more than 4 years ago. So the interesting thing about this phone is that I changed my background image on this phone to something because I wanted to visualize my future, I wanted to change my life, and this is the background image. You can see that it's a private jet. So basically it's a point of view image from a private jet that I just found on Google because I wanted my background image to remind me every day of how my future will be. And in my future, I thought I'm gonna be flying private jets. So the interesting thing is that now I am flying private jets very, very often. And back then, of course, I couldn't even afford an economy ticket. Some people called me crazy and thought this was a bit weird, but it clearly worked. So I'm gonna explain to you how this works and why this worked. The law of attraction works because everything is energy. Literally everything in this world is energy. It's vibrational frequencies, energy. Your thoughts, your words, and your actions, everything, including your emotions, everything is energy. And you can materialize things and you can manifest things if you change your energy, because you work as a magnet. So that's what I realized back then. I was researching this a lot and I realized that I am a magnet. I need to reprogram my mind and I have to reprogram my frequencies to attract what I want. So essentially, you need to act as if. By that, I mean that you have to not only imagine that you are successful already, you have to act as if you are already successful, because that energy is going to be very, very strong and very, very helpful to manifest things. So this is a good example. But what I also did was, if I do remember my code here, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to go and show you one app that I downloaded, actually a few apps. Here's one app. It's actually irrelevant what app it is, but the point is that it's a jet broker app. And I downloaded, I think, 4 or 5 of these apps back then. And Why? Well, because I wanted to act as if. I wanted to act as if I was a rich individual who could charter private jets. So I actually even went as far as sending a quote even a couple of times to the agent asking, hey, do you have any jet flights to France in the next couple of days? And they sent me a quote of like $20,000 or something. Of course, I was working in a grocery store, so I made like $1,500 a month. I couldn't even afford, 1 minute in the jet, but I got the quote, and I just imagined I was rich. I just let my imagination flow, and I just almost, for a minute pretended I'm gonna actually book this flight. And this energy helped me to basically act as if and have fun, I even downloaded some apps for like checking expensive real estate, expensive boats and expensive cars, acting again as if I could buy these cars, I was looking for Bugattis and Paganis and Koenigsegg's, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy a car. How to apply the law of attraction in a very good way is to just, instead of looking for your normal things, start looking for very, very expensive things. But you're not actually gonna buy them, of course, but you imagine that you're gonna buy them. And as you guys know, now I am a proud owner of a Bugatti Veyron and many other cool things that I love. For example, my watch here. And this is also a great example of the law of attraction. I imagined that I have a Jacob & Co. on my wrist many, many years ago. This watch is, of course, a expensive watch, so I could not afford it back then, but I visualized it, I saw it clearly in my mind, and now I have it. So that's the law of attraction applied, and if you guys do this right now, you can change your life dramatically in the next few years. It could take 1 year, 3 years. It's not gonna be overnight, of course. It can take 2 years, but it's not about the timing. It's about just the act of changing your vibrations and believing it's gonna change. Because doing this is one thing, but then also believing it's gonna happen, that makes it even more powerful. Really believes.
That changing school scenario again, you were given this identity, and that identity came with a set of like implicit instructions on who you were, which we then all, for some reason, subconsciously believe and then obey, and then we start fulfilling.
100%. I think the things that dictate our lives are our beliefs. Your life is as good as you believe it's going to be. I think I'm a real advocate that disposition is more important than position. And 95% of life is how you look at it, and 5% is what happens to you. So the idea that you go, what are you going to believe? Well, most of our beliefs, the beliefs that really affect us, are the presuppositions that we make. We don't even think about them. We just think it's, I'm not the kind of person that does that. I'm not the kind of person because I'm not from that background, or I'm not from showbiz. I don't know anyone in showbiz, so I'm never going to be in showbiz. And then you allow yourself at some stage, you go, well, fuck that. I'm going to allow myself to dream, or to try and be more than.
I wrote down, it's like, wow, all this stuff came to life.
Yep.
And
give me some examples from when you were younger.
Man, like CEO Charlie.
Yep.
I would literally dress up trying to attract what I wanted. Then I became the big time CEO, $15 million a year business, like the houses I wanted, the cars I wanted, the numbers in my bank account that I wanted, like everything I got. But it got crazy this year because I would ask for the most ridiculous things that are so unrealistic that have come into my life. For example, I would write down, I'm not a professional athlete, but I would write down, I'm going to be a Nike athlete.
And when you wrote down, I'm going to be a Nike athlete, were you 300-pound Charlie?
I was losing weight, but that was my goal. Like, I'm like, and my friends thought I was crazy. Like, Charlie, what are you talking about? Like, I'm like, no, I'm gonna be a Nike athlete. Like I've left my hip hop business, and my way in is to inspire. And Nike is an inspirational company, and I would write it down, and I would even get specific with it in my Quantum Possibilities notebook. I'll say, Quantum Possibilities. I'll be in a commercial with LeBron James and Serena Williams, and I would do it every day, and it came true. I was in a commercial with LeBron James and Serena Williams, and all my friends were like, Charlie, like, I don't know what it is about you and this doggone notebook, but I'm gonna start doing it because I see all this magic happening in your life. Now, I don't really like use the words like manifestation. Sometimes it turns people off. It's a little weird. One day I was in a salad shop, And I was talking to this guy, and this other guy walked up to me and said, "You're very quantum." I said, "What does that mean?" I like the way that sounds.
Yeah.
And he was a quantum physicist. He said, "I could tell by the way you talk that you're able to attract crazy things into your life." He started teaching me about quantum physics.
Yeah.
He started teaching me that everything is energy, and everything is energy. That means everything's waves. If everything is waves, then that means they all collide somewhere, and we're already connected to what we want.
Yeah.
That's why people say in the law of attraction, if you think about what you want, boom. My videographer, who filmed the fan-made Nike commercial,
Yep.
I was frustrated. I needed a videographer that could do everything that I wanted. Everybody was too expensive, or they just specialized in one thing. I needed everything. I wanted my cake and I wanted to eat it too. I wrote in my Quantum Possibilities notebook that morning, "Today is the day I searched and found my videographer. It's done. It will be easy."
Yep.
That's the exact sentence.
Yep.
He walked through my door of my living room. He was hanging out with a friend of mine who works at Whole Foods. Like, he doesn't ever hang out with videographers.
Yeah.
And this guy walks in with him holding a video camera, complete freak accident of how they linked up. And I said, "You do videos?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm looking for a videographer." I said, "Do you do music?" He said, "Yeah, I do music. I used to be a rock star." I said, "Do you do video color grading?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you do audio engineering and mixing?" He said, "Yeah." Like, it was everything I was looking for, and I wrote it down in my notebook. Same thing happened with me working with Oprah.
Yep.
Oprah's producer of 25 years walked right into my life. I would write down in my notebook every day, I will work with Oprah. I'm talking to my boy George. I said, "George, I want to work with Oprah." This lady walks by in the office that George hasn't seen in 15 years.
Yep.
He says, "Anna, come over here." I start talking to Anna. George said, Charlie, tell Anna your story." I start telling her. She starts writing something down. I said, "What you writing down?" She says, "Well, I'm about to meet with Oprah's producer in about 20 minutes. I looked at George like, that was fast.
Yeah.
Oprah's producer produced my entire Bike Ride Across America tour, all the givebacks, all the media, all the interviews. 25 years she's worked with Oprah, walked right into my life. I write things down
Yep.
every single day. The other day I wrote down a brand. I just felt it.
Yep.
I felt this was going to happen. I said, a brand is going to call me and offer me $10,000 today.
Yep.
They did. It was insane. I keep track of I have podcast episodes on my podcast of all the crazy quantum possibility stories.
Yep.
I got proof of them. I've documented. I got the notebooks. So what I recommend for everybody is to get a notebook. That notebook is magic. That pen is your magic freaking wand.
Should they pick out a notebook that they love?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I see you got this thing looks like it's out of Jumanji.
Man, this is like biblical.
Yeah.
Like, this is like magic. Like when I write stuff down, I'll read a couple examples of things I write down and my mindset and my frequency that I send out when I'm writing.
So don't go, if you're listening to this right now, don't go to Office Max and get some shitty purple notebook that you're going to get something
magical.
that feels magical.
That's right.
Okay.
So there's a few things I do. When I write my quantum possibilities, I write from the mindset that it's already done.
Yep.
Time hasn't caught up yet. I'm literally writing it like I'm at the finish line of my goals. For example, I'm saying losing weight is so easy now. Yep. It's so fun. Like, it's not even work. Yep. Like, my podcast is exploding as we speak. Yep. Like, I'm literally writing the possibilities of what I want to have happen. I'm not asking. Yep. I'm not saying, I hope this happens. Yeah. No, I'm saying this is done. I would say, I am a Nike athlete. It's easy. Yep. I'm a Nike athlete. It's done. And at the bottom of my page, I'd always say, it's already done. Time hasn't caught up yet. Yep. Another thing I do in my quantum possibilities, I make a list, but the list is blank.
Yep.
I said right here at the top of the page, I expect 10 blessings to come this week. And I write out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it's blank. I'm giving space. I'm literally creating space for the blessings to come. Yep. Because if I expect blessings, if I expect the possibilities to come true, yep, they start coming true. Yep. Bro, there's something crazy that happened in my life. Bro, my phone was broken. Okay, energy and what we think about ourselves is everything. My phone was broken, so subconsciously I'm looking at my phone